Hello and welcome to Press TV's debate. I'm Marzi Hashemi. Thanks so much for being with us. American intelligence agencies have come to the conclusion that there has been Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. And not just Moscow is accused, but the finger is being pointed at President Vladimir Putin himself for trying to change the results of the vote. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is skeptical and says anyone could have hacked the Democratic Party's computers, even a 14-year-old. But it did not change the result of the election. Stay with us as we take a look at Washington's latest accusation against Russia and what it all means.
U.S. intelligence officials released a 25-page declassified report on Friday, which says Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 aimed at helping Donald Trump win the presidential election. The report said the Russian campaign aimed at undermining the democratic process and discrediting Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. As the report puts, Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for Trump. U.S. intelligence officials believe that the Russian efforts to influence the 2016 presidential election represent Moscow's latest attempt to interfere in the U.S. internal affairs. According to the report, the scope of Russia's activities was significantly larger this time compared with previous operations. It also warned that Moscow will try to influence the elections of U.S. allies. The report was released after top intelligence chiefs briefed President-elect Trump on the issue. However, Trump released a statement after the meeting saying that the election's result was not affected by hacking.
While Russia, China, other countries, outside groups and people are consistently trying to break through the cyber infrastructure of our governmental institutions, businesses and organizations, including the Democrat National Committee, there was absolutely no effect on the outcome of the election.
Trump said he believed that the outcome was unaffected because there was no tampering whatsoever with voting machines. He further said that he wants to appoint a team to give him a plan to combat cyber attacks within 90 days of taking office. U.S. intelligence officials believe that the Russians stole emails from the Democratic National Committee and Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta and leaked them to the media by WikiLeaks prior to the election in an attempt to embarrass the Clinton campaign. Moscow has denied the hacking allegations and Trump has expressed skepticism about them. Nevertheless, outgoing President Barack Obama ordered a series of economic sanctions against Russia, as well as expulsion of 35 Russian diplomats over the hacking allegations.
They want to discredit Russia. Look what Obama just did, just more sanctions on Russia on the way out. I mean, what kind of president does that to his country, straddles his country with this new tension with another country? It's just insane. And all the while, crying foul about the election. And again, they were the ones that stole the election from Bernie Sanders, the DNC, who were hacked by somebody. But, it's all just, it's basically, like I say, it's a psychopath pointing the finger at somebody else because they can't accept any responsibility.
Ties between the Obama administration and the Kremlin have considerably worsened over the past months, but the incoming administration of Trump is likely to introduce a different attitude to ties with Moscow.
I'd like to welcome my guest to the program, columnist from The Hill, Mr. Brent Badowski, out of Washington, D.C., former U.S. Army Psychological Warfare Officer, Mr. Scott Bennett, out of San Francisco. Thank you both for being with us. Well, let's start this off in D.C. And Mr. Badowski, do you think that Russia has been involved in cyber attacks to try to influence the results of the 2016 election?
Oh, yeah. Almost everybody in the United States and the Democratic West believes that they've been involved. And, I want to say one quick thing here to my debating colleague and our audience. I'm going to let you in on a little joke. After I appeared with him last time on Press TV, he went on social media and started lying about me. And one of the places he lied to about me was a site owned by one of my best friends who called me up and said, "Who is this guy?" And I just laughed. I said, well, I hope whoever's paying him to troll the internet and attack me after I'm on Press TV pays him at least a good minimum wage. Go ahead. I'll be looking forward to tonight's installment.
You have me confused with Scott Ricard, sir. You have me confused with Scott Ricard. Get your medication straight. I am not Scott Ricard. I am Scott Bennett, United States Army officer, former State Department contractor with a top secret SCI clearance, not a Hill journalist.
Okay, well, Scott Bennett.
Oh, okay, fine.
Okay, so we got that cleared up. Let's get started now. Well, Scott Bennett, your take on that. Do you think that Russian President Vladimir Putin has personally been involved in trying to sway the results of the election campaign?
Look, absolutely not. And I can say that because I have experience at the State Department, in the military. I had a top secret clearance. I know technocrats. They've all confirmed there was no electronic signature. If there was hacking, it would have been trailed. If they really were hacking the servers, the FBI and everyone would have investigated it. They never did. This is simply a propaganda, disinformation, deception operation by the Obama administration to the political appointees in these agencies that then manipulate questions, feed them to analysts, don't share the analysts' answers with them, and then cobble together this political report that is also welcomed by the war hawks like John McCain, Lindsey Graham, and these other Russia-phobic, old senile men that are totally corrupt. Now, I would say with authority, when I communicated with Brad Birkenfeld, the Swiss banker who gave me the WikiLeaks cables, gave me the Swiss banking accounts that were used by Abdullah Aziz, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, I gave them to NBC News, Michael Isikoff, and I told him that Lindsey Graham, Peter King, Charles Grassley, Jason Chaffetz, Darrell Issa, about 38 different congressmen and senators, which is in this report, all received terrorist financing information from me, a United States Army officer, begging and pleading them to act on this, to investigate it. This was coming to me from the human intelligence source, Brad Birkenfeld, and not one single congressman or senator did anything. No one in the military, General Ray Odierno, General Martin Dempsey, General Jeff Jacobs at U.S. Civil Affairs Psychological Operations Command, no one did a single thing, which leads me to believe, obviously, that they were participating in the greatest treason against the people of the United States of America. The mainstream media, NBC News, Michael Isikoff, never did a single thing. They interviewed me for 2 hours. Tom Hamburger of the Washington Post interviewed me for 2 hours and did absolutely nothing. So the reason that people have no confidence in the media is precisely because of this material.
Okay, well, let me cross back over to Washington. Let me cross back over to D.C. Sorry, Mr. Bennett. But, Mr. Rudofsky, do you think that the intelligence service have really given concrete proof of Russian involvement? It appears more to be some type of speculation. How do you see it?
Now, first of all, Mr. Bennett has a right to his own opinion, but every intelligence service in the United States military, at the Department of Defense, the CIA, the NSA, the FBI.
Don't bring in the military.
Well, please let me hold on. They all signed a report. They've been very public about this.
No, they don't.
So you can claim what you want. You have a right here in America. Unlike Russia, you have the right to offer an opinion. But please. You don't know what I did, son, but let me finish what I'm saying. You can interrupt me later. We're in America here. We're not in Putin's Russia. Good for you. All the Army officers and Army intelligence strongly disagree with you. The entire military and defense and FBI disagrees with you. Yes, they do. Read the report.
I worked in the agencies.
Now, I'm going to cut to the chase. Good for you. They all signed the report. I mean, you want to say what you believe. You have a right. You have a right to your opinion. But I have a right to say correctly that they all disagree with you, that Russia was behind the hacking,
nonsense.
That the hacking and other espionage was done for the purpose of electing Donald Trump.
Let me just jump in here, Mr.
And I'll tell you one thing.
Mr. Podolsky, let me just jump in here. You said that all the intelligence agency had signed off, and of course, Mr. Bennett says he disagrees with as far as the military intelligence. But even so, it seems that we've been down this road before, haven't we? If we go back prior to the Iraq War, we've definitely heard just so much proof, supposedly, coming from one intelligence agency to another, proving that WMDs are definitely existing in Iraq. And at the end of the day, what happens, sir, except the destruction of that country, but never any WMDs, right?
No, look, I opposed the Iraq War from the very beginning, before most people knew that there was going to be an Iraq War. But every single intelligence service, military, civilian, law enforcement, totally and violently disagrees with what Mr. Bennett is saying.
Absolutely false. That
I'm
is
asking you something else. Mr. Bodowski, obviously, this is not a discussion about the Iraqi war. It's that obviously in the U.S., in the past, we have seen time and time again, and no better example was, of course, the invasion of Iraq. When we have seen that. So is it possible that there really isn't any concrete proof in all of this?
No, look, I was against the Iraq war, but if the best you can do is keep repeating propaganda for 15 years old, yeah, they were wrong. How about all the years in the 15 years since then? The fact is, here's the most important point, whether Mr. Bennett likes it or not.
Yeah, they destabilized Syria, they destabilized Libya, they destabilized Ukraine, they destabilized Iraq. They've been on this endless 15-year crusade to disintegrate the Middle East, and that's where the American people have said, no, you will not disintegrate the Middle East.
Mr. Bodowski get in here. Go ahead, Mr. Bodowski. Say what you have.
May I finish?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Bennett seems to think we're in Russia, where my mic gets cut off and he could talk over me. We're not. We're in America.
And we're in Iran, actually. Actually, the mic is not getting cut off.
Yeah,
let me just throw in there, the mic isn't getting cut off, sir, because the server is right here in Tehran, and we're going to allow you to speak. Go ahead, sir.
He's fine. I appreciate that. He's tried to talk over me 4 times, and we've only been in this a few minutes. The fact of the matter is that when Congress is in office fully and operational, Democrats and Republicans who agree with me and agree with the intelligence service by huge margins are going to vote to increase the sanctions that Obama put on, whatever Donald Trump does. And as I said on Russian television recently, if Vladimir Putin wants some advice, if he changes the things he's been doing that have Republicans and Democrats angry, there can be better relations between the two countries. But if not, whatever I think, whatever Mr. Bennett thinks, whatever the Russians care about, there will be tougher sanctions, because virtually every Republican in Congress agrees with virtually every Democratic in Congress that I am right and Mr. Bennett is wrong, as do every intelligence agency in the American government, as does law enforcement in America.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Bennett. I was going to ask you a question, but you seem to be definitely ready to comment, so I'll just let you go with it. Go ahead. Comment, sir.
Well, yeah, you know, the only thing that matters are the facts and our experience and our honesty. And I mean, I can't wait to take this report and share it with Mr. Brodowski when I see him in Washington, when I come to testify before the Senate and the House and the Trump campaign people, and say, this is the story that they're really running from. This is why John McCain and Lindsey Graham and Dianne Feinstein and Mark Desaulnier and about 150 different congressmen and senators are running wild, because it implicates the Clinton Foundation, the Department of Justice, Eric Holder, Lanny Brewer, Booz Allen Hamilton, the contractor that I work for, and their financing of terrorism through Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Swiss banks, Union Bank of Switzerland, HSBC, and numerous members of Congress that have betrayed their oath against the people of the United States. So the people of the United States have woken up. They're reading and seeing a lot of this material, and they're acting on it. One of the greatest actions was the voting of Donald Trump, who is tapping into the populist spirit that Americans are tired of these off-the-chain neoconservative intelligence agencies and military operations to destabilize the Middle East. They're trying to rein us back from that. They will. That's what the military-industrial complex fears. They don't want to end the war. They want to start new wars in northern Eastern Europe. They want to start new wars in Syria. They want to start wars in Iran and push into Russia. That's the agenda, is to destabilize the region. Israel plays a part of that. Netanyahu plays a part of that. Obama has played a part of that. John Kerry has played a part of that. All of that is documented, and that's the only thing that matters are the facts.
What is the name of this report, sir? Tell me the name of the report you're citing
like Ray
again.
McGovern that'll confirm.
Mr. Bennett, tell me the name of the report that you're citing.
The report is Shell Game, a military whistleblowing report to Congress about the Union Bank of Switzerland terrorist finance connection to Edward Snowden, Booz Allen Hamilton, U.S. Central Command, and the Clinton Foundation. This report was based on intelligence documents, WikiLeaks cables from the State Department when I worked at the State Department. Now, I've never revealed anything classified. I never will. I take my oath to the people and the Constitution of the United States. But when I saw treason and corruption, and I met Brad Birkenfeld and sat down with him for 6 months, and all of this material was revealed, it came very clear to me that the Congress and certain members of the military were actively engaging in terrorist financing up into Syria And the fruits of that have rushed into Europe in this whole tidal wave of migrants and refugees.
Okay.
And that's really what they're trying to cover and run away from.
Okay.
But all the technocrats like Ray McGovern and Binney and Wiebe, they all say there was no Russian hacking. They've worked in the computer technocratic circles. Your journalist in Washington has never done anything but typed on a typewriter and scribbled on a notepad. We've been in the war, wore the uniforms, and worked behind the computers. No one's better qualified than us to discuss this.
All right, stay with me, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Podolsky, what about all of this? Many would say that it's just a lot of hot air, that it definitely, let's say there was some type of tampering. Did it affect the results at all? And let us also look at the fact that intelligence agencies worldwide usually actually try to get into each other's, as far as information, computer-wise or cyber intelligence. So tell me, why is this such a big deal? Do you think that if this happened, that it really made a difference in the result, that Donald Trump would not have gotten elected? Is that what you're saying, or can you expand on that?
Oh, yeah. Look, I will repeat what I recently wrote in The Hill and have said on American television. I think Hillary Clinton lost for 3 reasons. One, that Comey of the FBI intervened in a politically and inappropriate way. 2, that Russia allowed the media, encouraged the media, and Trump encouraged Russia publicly to have disinformation that Russia leaked and the media reported for about 5 months in a row. And the 3rd reason is that Hillary Clinton was a lousy candidate, which I've also said, including directly to her campaign and publicly in column after column. But yeah, it definitely made a difference. But let me go back to the most important point I'm going to make today, and this, you will see, is a fact. That the Democrats, liberal, and Republicans, conservative in Congress, both parties, liberals as well as conservatives, those of us who opposed the Iraq war as well as others who supported it, they are going to enact tougher sanctions against Russia no matter what Trump does.
No, they're not.
And they'll be by large majorities.
No,
they're called veto-proof. Well, we'll find out. We could come back and discuss it when it happens. You just watch. There was no one in the Senate hearing that supported Putin or Trump. In the hearings before the Armed Services Committee. They all agreed with the intelligence services, and every intelligence service agrees with themselves. And if you think they're not going to do sanctions, as Clint Eastwood said, make my day. We'll discuss it the day that they're voted on, and the only thing that can prevent that is if Russia initiates a better relation and stops some of the acts that they have been doing that we see about and read about every day. If they don't change, there will be sanctions. And Mr. Bennett doesn't know Congress if he doesn't think that's true, and he's going to learn the hard way.
Let me get Mr. Bennett here. I'm so sorry, we're running out of time. But Mr. Bennett, I want you to respond to Mr. Podolsky, but also just looking at all of this, it does not seem actually a tit for tat. It actually seems that the Americans have been very, very aggressive with this, because we saw actually diplomats being thrown out of the country right before either Christmas or New Year's during the holidays. And yet Vladimir Putin, Russian president, actually did nothing. So it seems that it's the Russians that are trying to calm things down, and it's Washington, for whatever reason, that either wants a Cold War or hot war with Russia. Your take on all of this, sir?
Well, you're exactly right. They are trying to inflate a conflict. They did try and start that with the 35 diplomats they expelled. Putin was very wise to pull back and say, hey, I'm not going to kick you out. In fact, I'm going to invite you, your wife, and kids to Christmas celebration in Russia. The next thing is they may invade the northern part of Russia, in which Putin has to back out and say, hey, please get out of my country, and not respond. All of this action is designed to inflate a conflict. But the American people don't have it because they don't have a problem with Russia. This is not the Soviet Union. We're not a bunch of senile old men that go back to the 1950s, 60s, and 70s and the Cold War. This is a new time in America, and everybody under the age of 45 does not have a problem with the Iranian people or the Russian people. We want peace and stability, and these old corrupt warmongers are the only ones that live and thrive on war. And the other thing I'd say is there are good men in Congress like Senator Dick Black, like Tulsi Gabbard, like Rohrabacher, and others who are aware of this propaganda campaign, and they will step up and exercise their position as legislators to say, we do not agree with these intelligence agency hacks that have been positioned by Obama. We don't agree with this analysis, and in fact, this is all a political campaign to harm Donald Trump. We want Donald Trump to prosecute and investigate all of the congressmen and senators who have been implicated in terrorist financing, ignoring these terrorist financing reports, and the Clinton Foundation in the pay-to-play operations where they sold weapons to all of these countries to fume and fuel this destabilization. So America is going through a major transformation. Don't think that they won't stoop so low to do to Trump what they did to Kennedy. You very easily could have an assassination against Donald Trump. I hope and pray that is not the case. But make no mistake, these people are desperate, they're frantic, they're running. John McCain, my father flew with John McCain in Vietnam. He knows what kind of a piece of garbage he is, and so do all the other military people that know John McCain.
Okay,
so
and thank you so much. I have to end it. I'm so sorry. We are out of time. I appreciate both of you being with us out of Washington, D.C. Mr. Brent Badowski from The Hill, a columnist there, and former U.S. Army Psychological Warfare Officer, Mr. Scott Bennett out of San Francisco. And as always, viewers, we appreciate you being with us on another debate right here at Press TV. I'm Marcia Hashemi signing out for myself and all the crew. Thanks so much and see you next time.